Well, we know how many people feet the flea jumped. How many flea feet did it jump? Hello everyone, welcome back, or nice to meet you. My name's Jessie. I just washed my hair. Yeah, today's the last day of February, so I need to do a February wrap up. And for January's wrap up, I did like make press-on nails with me as I talked about all the books I read. So I thought it might be kind of fun to like double task again. And I'm gonna do like a get ready with me while I talk about the books I read. So we're gonna do some skincare before we get started on makeup. So yeah, I read 7 books this month, which is a lot for me, and granted they were mostly school books. I'm an English literature major, so I do a lot of reading for school. Most of the books I read this month were for school, but I still count them towards my reading goal because 1, it encourages me to actually read the books, and 2, I'm reading them, so I count them. So yeah, I read 4 books for my survey of Greek literature class. And then I also read 1 book for gender and sexuality literature course. So I'm going to talk about those first, just to kind of get them out of the way. If you don't know, I don't rate school books. It feels weird to rate them because like I'm reading them regardless of whether I like them or not, you know? And then like also when I read them, I don't really think about like, oh, do I like this book? I'm more thinking about like whatever topic we're studying in the lectures and everything. So yeah, I don't know, it feels weird to me to rate school books. Yeah, the first book that I read was The Trojan Women by Euripides. I liked it. It's about like the aftermath of the Trojan War, but like from the women's point of view almost. Not even point of view, it just like centers the women because, you know, all of their husbands just died in war and they're now being like sold into slavery, and one of their babies is taken to be killed. So yeah, it was interesting because like the ancient Greeks were so misogynistic in their mindset that like a lot of the literature about the women from ancient Greece is like kind of disgusting. So that was interesting to see like female characters that like had actual depth, and I liked the way they talked about grief in The Trojan Women. Yeah, it was interesting. I liked it. Again, no rating, but I did enjoy it. I would recommend. And the second book that I read was Philoctetes by Sophocles. I liked that one too. The Trojan Women and Philoctetes are tragedies, but yeah, Philoctetes is about Philoctetes. There's like a myth that happens before the play where Philoctetes is like traveling with people to go fight in the Trojan War. So they're traveling to Troy and they stop on an island and he gets bitten by a snake on his foot, so he's like infected, and the people he's traveling with just kind of decide to leave him there. But then they get to Troy and Oracle is kind of like, well, yeah, so you kind of need him to win the Trojan War. So Odysseus and Achilles' son have to go back to the island to go get him and like convince Philoctetes to come to Troy with them. That happens before the play takes place. The play is all about Odysseus and Achilles' son trying to convince / manipulate Philoctetes into fighting in the Trojan War with them. There's a mirror over here, by the way. I'm not just like glancing into nothingness. Yeah, it was interesting to see how persuasion was used in this play. In class, we kind of compared it to another play that I'm going to talk about in just a second. But like persuasion in Philoctetes is like, you know, there's that kind of question of like, is it manipulation? And if it is manipulation okay for like the greater good? Like, it was an interesting read. The third play I read was The Acarnanians by Aristophanes, and this one's a comedy, finally, and I also liked this one. The Acarnanians is about this guy called Dicaeopolis, and he's like kind of annoyed with the Peloponnesian War that's still going on, so he convinces a guy to get him a peace treaty with Sparta, like just for him, not for like his city, like just for him. So then for the rest of the play, because that happens like pretty much like right at the beginning. So then for the rest of the play, he's just kind of wandering around and talking to people, and he meets a lot of guys that are like pro-war. At the end, he's like drinking from a giant goblet of wine, and his neighbor Lacomus, who's one of the pro-war guys, he is like severely injured and like on his way home. So you know, it's like a commentary on war, right? But it's also like, you know, it's a comedy, so it's like satirical. Euripides is a character in this play, and his portrayal is probably my favorite part. Aristophanes just kind of calls him lazy the whole time, and some of the satire was like weirdly modern to me. Dicaeopolis makes fun of Euripides' mom as he's leaving his house, so I'm almost out of this moisturizer. I'm so sad. And then the last play that I read for my Greek literature class was Clouds by Aristophanes, same guy who wrote The Acharnians. Okay, skincare is done. I'm like breaking out on my chin. I don't know if you can see from this far away. Anyway, back to Clouds. But yeah, I liked Clouds. Clouds is about this guy called Strepsiades, and he is in debt because of his son, which I do not remember his son's name, so sorry. But yeah, he's in debt because of his son, and so he hears about this school that will teach you, they call it the better and the worse argument, and the worse argument is supposed to like let you win any debate ever. So Strepsiades wants his son to go to this school to learn that argument so that he can get out of debt, but the son like really does not want to. He is like really into horses, and so he refuses to go to this school because he wants to spend more time with his horses. So Strepsiades ends up going anyway, and the school is called the Thinkery, and it's run by Sophocles. It's like everyone there is like on a quest for knowledge, but it's like stupid, useless knowledge. Like they tell this story of a flea jumping on one of the guys' heads, and they're like, well, we know how many people feet the flea jumped. How many flea feet did it jump? And then they tell this other story of how they dipped the flea's feet in like wax and then peeled the wax off when it dried, so that they could measure it in flea feet, and like it's just, you know, stupid stuff. So yeah, that's the kind of thing they're learning at the Thinkery. And they also do not believe in the gods at the Thinkery. They worship the clouds. So yeah, and if you've never read like a Greek play, there's normally a chorus, and they like come on stage and they like chant or sing things throughout the whole play. Like sometimes they're characters in the play, sometimes they interact like directly with the audience. Sometimes they do both. So in Clouds, the chorus is made up of anthropomorphic, like humanoid clouds. So yeah, Strepsiades goes and tries to learn the worse argument, but he is too old and he can't do it. So he goes and tries to convince his son again to learn, and his son does learn it, but then he uses those argument skills to like justify kids beating their parents. So then Strepsiades is mad and he burns down the Thinkery. And yeah, it was an interesting use of persuasion. And the Clouds is the one that we compared to Philoctetes in class, because persuasion here is seen kind of as like, oh, it's always a bad thing. But in Philoctetes, it's more like morally gray, you know? There's the question of, can persuasion be a good thing? Yeah, I liked that one too. I need to do my nails. Is it too early to do birthday nails? My birthday is in not quite 2 weeks, like a week and 3 days. My birthday's on a Tuesday, and I need to redo my nails, and I don't like think I have time to do a set and then do my birthday set, you know? But I also feel like it's too early to do like my birthday nails. I don't know. Okay, and then the last book I read for school was for my gender and sexuality class, Bastard Out of Carolina by Dorothy Allison. I feel like that was way too much blush. I know I have blush blindness, no one say anything. Anyway, Bastard Out of Carolina. This one was probably my least favorite of all the books I read for class. I really didn't like this one. It's about a girl called Bone. I think her name's like Ruth, but everyone calls her Bone. It's like about her life growing up as a poor family in the 1950s. Yeah, it kind of just takes us through her childhood, and she was born illegitimate. There's a big focus in the beginning of like this illegitimate stamp being on her birth certificate. And then it also talks mostly about the sexual abuse that she received from her stepdad, and about how her mother just does not protect her from that abuse. So yeah, I understand why we read it for this class. However, I do not enjoy reading about anyone being abused, but especially children. If I'm not mistaken, Dorothy Allison based a lot of Bone and Bone's experiences off of her own life. Not my favorite book. Not because it was poorly written. It was very well written. I just was not a fan of the content. So yeah, that was the last school book. So now we get to move on to the fun stuff. The first fun book I read was Never Lie by Frida McFadden. And I did not like this book. It's about a woman and her husband. I'm gonna be so honest, I do not remember either of their names. And they're like newlyweds, so they're looking for houses, and then there's a big snowstorm while they're looking at one of the houses, so they get like trapped. And the owner of the house that they're in used to be a therapist lady who like wrote a couple books and like was really famous, or maybe not famous, maybe popular is the word I'm looking for. And then she like disappeared. The woman like finds the therapist lady's office, and there's like a bunch of tapes that the therapist like had from recordings of the therapy sessions that she would do in her house. So she's like trying to listen to all these recorded sessions and kind of figure out what happened to the therapist lady. And like Frida McFadden is known for having like big plot twists. Like I don't know if it was just me, but I almost felt like it was trying too hard to be like a big plot twist, you know? And like I'm gonna try and be as vague as I can to try and like not spoil, but like the whole plot twist doesn't work because the book is in first person. It doesn't make any sense. And like the husband and the wife barely know each other. Like they mention that they got like married really fast. This would be easier if I had any kind of lashes. I normally have either like cluster lashes or I have a lash lift, but I'm trying to wait until closer to my birthday to do it so that they look good for my birthday, you know? Oh, now I have to try and make something similar on my other eye. But yeah, not a huge fan of Never Lie. In first person, it doesn't make sense. The husband and wife barely know each other at all. Like, and no one ever finds out what they did. Like, no one at all. It's just like, I had to like suspend my disbelief a little bit too much, if that makes sense. And then like the wife like fully like alludes to her killing her husband at the end. Like, what are we talking about? Not a huge fan. It just kind of felt like a mess to me. So I ended up rating it 2.5 stars. A 3 stars for me is like average, kind of like, yeah, this was okay kind of book. I put it a little bit below that because like it was entertaining and like I was invested until we've kind of found out what was actually happening, and then it was like, oh, okay, so none of this makes sense. The last book that I read this month was the first Dungeon Crawler Carl book, and I filmed a reading vlog for that one, so you should go watch that video. You probably know what Dungeon Crawler Carl is about because I feel like it's everywhere right now. Basically, a guy named Carl, he watches the very brief apocalypse that happens on Earth, and as a result, he and his ex-girlfriend's cat are thrown into a game show to compete for their lives against all the other people that survived the apocalypse on Earth. So yeah, the game show is set up as like a big dungeon, and they have to like get to all the different floors to keep progressing in the game show. And yeah, the whole thing is set up kind of like a video game in real life. There's like stats, they have like an inventory, they do like boss fights and stuff. Yeah, and it's a 7-book series with the 8th coming out this month? Question mark. I only read the first one and I did rate it 5 stars. I really liked it. It took me a little bit to get into it. Yeah, I need a lash lift. Toronto. Anyway, yeah, I rated Dungeon Crawler Carl 5 stars. I did decide to take a break between reading the books because I don't know if it's just me, but I get like really overwhelmed if I stay in one world for too long. So like sometimes reading a series like consecutively, like, yeah, I don't know, it overwhelms me. So I'm trying to take a break because I like want to enjoy this series, you know? I have like a double lip line. It makes lining my lips like impossible, I swear. Anyway, yeah, I want to dive into the next book because of where we left off with like the choosing the class and everything, and like all the stuff that Carl was thinking about Agatha, the thing with Frank and Maggie, like I want to continue so bad, but I'm trying to pace myself because I know me and I want to make sure that I enjoy this series. Time for the best part of my makeup routine, my Wet n Wild SpongeBob collection. I like a purpley lip. I don't know why. I just do. Yeah, that's everything that I read for February. I forgot to do that before mascara. It's fine. Hi, it's a couple hours later. I went to dry my hair and then forgot that I was supposed to finish this video, so it's now like almost 6 o'clock. Yeah, so I told you about all the books that I read this month. For March, I think my TBR I'm gonna put, well, I'm currently reading Bride by Ellie Hazelwood. I'm making a video of me reading it, like a reading vlog, but it's great. And then other than that, I'm gonna put 2 more books on my TBR. I'm gonna put the second Dungeon Crawler Carl book on there, and then I'm gonna put I Hope This Finds You Well. I feel like that might be a good like palette cleanser kind of book, like after the second Dungeon Crawler Carl book, you know? Thanks for hanging out with me and listening to me yap while I got ready. Hopefully this was a little bit more fun than just watching like a regular sit down reading wrap up. I hope you had fun hanging out with me. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more of me, then don't forget to like and subscribe. I would love to hear what's on your TBR for March, so feel free to let me know in the comments. And yeah, I think that's all I have for you. So, love you. Bye.